Alright, so we kicked off the stream. I just need to go out here and share it with you guys. I need to find the URL. How? How do I share this video? It is not giving me a URL where I can share an unlisted video. I don't know how you're supposed to be able to do this. Nope, nope, nope. Yeah, there we go. Here. Okay, hopefully that'll work. I'll have to give it a moment to see if people are coming in or not. Okay, a little bit late on that, but we're finally there. And hopefully people will be able to start following that link to get into the live stream. If you've joined, please let me know. It doesn't give me an immediate list of who is here. I'll give it a minute for people to refresh the page and open the link and join in. All right. Still waiting for people to join. Hopefully they can join. Maybe they're not being able to link through that. I'll edit that and put a link down there. Hey, okay, we got some people on the link now. Good. Frankie, Thomas, welcome. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I just kind of got tired last week of trying to deal with Patreon's live stream through the Crowdcast. It kept giving me problems, wouldn't work on half of the browsers. So I am more familiar with YouTube. So I'll just use YouTube and OBS. Unfortunately, I can't share people on screen with me through this one, but I'll just have to keep an eye on the chat. That's where we'll go. Yeah, I got here and got all set up and opened YouTube and opened the software. And it's like, wait a second, I don't have a mic. Had to run back home and grab the mic. Sorry about the delay on that. How are you guys doing tonight? What have you guys been up to? All right, got 3 people in. I'm not sure how many people are going to join. Just give another couple of minutes maybe for people to get in, but I don't want to delay too much longer. Of course, this will be recorded, and if you miss anything or can't join at all, you'll be able to come back and watch all this. Mm-hmm. Studying Bridgman? Where do you get your pose reference? Just curious. Most of the pose references I use for my artwork, I would use myself. I would just use a webcam and take pictures through the, what's it called? Photo booth on the Mac. Otherwise, Proco has some collections of photos that you can pick up through his website, and occasionally you'll find something good on DeviantArt. There's a lot of resource photos out there. It's all variety of quality though, so it's kind of hit and miss out with that, but it might be able to get you some ideas. Sometimes what I'll do is go out there and I'll look around and I'll come up with a good idea from one of their pictures, but it won't be exactly what I need. It won't be the right angle. So I'll go back and I'll shoot my own photo with that sort of as inspiration, and I'll tweak the pose however I need it. How am I doing, Frankie? Frankie, I'm doing pretty good. Doing busy? My mom said Glenn is handsome. Well, I'm glad she thinks so. That's a good compliment to receive. I've been doing good today. Drove out to Nashville with my girlfriend, and we just took some time, went by a coffee shop, and did some planning, figuring out what we're going to have as our goals for the rest of the week, the rest of the month, through the end of the year. Trying to figure out what projects I'm going to be focusing on, how I'm going to spend our time. We both are very oriented in trying to get the most out of our time, and constantly growing, constantly figuring out what we're going to be learning. And I need to start gearing up more for my Spartan training for next year. So we're talking about what kind of training we're going to do, what our goals and that are going to be. Yeah, and going over things like what do I want to cover in the next reward, which will be the mood ebook. Yeah. Okay, well, I assume most people who are going to be joining us tonight are probably already logged in, so I don't want to wait too much longer on them. I know that some people live very much on the far side of the world, and they can't possibly join right now, so I can't wait for everyone. But I need to start scheduling my own learning. Yeah, there's a lot of things, like my own painting. I want to get back to doing some oil painting, my pastels, and just figuring out how I'm going to work that in, how I can make that worth my time. And I wanted to do more videos here for Swatches on YouTube, just free videos to put out there, help grow the channel. And right now I've been so busy I haven't been able to do that, but I need to be able to make that work. And also business. I need to be constantly learning about how to do business better. So yeah, lots of stuff. Just got to be intentional about it and staying on track. Okay, I've go ahead and got Photoshop open, and we will start Andrew Doris. Okay. I wish it would give me a list if I clicked on watching to see who all is here, but I am not getting it to do that for me. So if you have questions, put them up here, and I will try to answer what your questions are while I'm going. But if not, I will save a little time at the end for Q&A in case I missed something, or if you come up with the question later. Otherwise, I will just go down the list, and we will, of course, be reviewing the first 5, which are the top tier patrons, and they always get a review. Isabella, welcome. Thanks for joining. Hope you're having a good evening or morning, depending where you are. Then we'll go over the winner from the challenge tier. And I need to talk a little bit about going forwards. Might be adjusting a couple of things with the Patreon pledge level setups, but I'll go over that later. Okay, Andrew Doris is the first up, so I'm going to switch over. No, I'll try to put that down here so I can actually still see the chat while we're going. And OBS. Okay, I don't have 2 screens, so I've got to put my chat down there so I can still see it. Okay, to start with, I want to say that I am really happy with the work that has been produced for this Tomb of the Sphinx challenge. You guys have really stepped up and done some real fantastic pieces, like very professional. You should be proud of these pieces, sort of pieces. I really liked the format that we had this time, where you sent in the sketch and I could give you some feedback partway through the process. And I think that it really helped getting the most out of the challenge. I felt like I was able to help you guys more, and you guys were able to, like I said, get more out of it, produce a higher level of work. Okay, I might have to, all right, I'm gonna have to cover this up so I can actually move this. I know that doesn't show the whole thing. No, I don't need Adobe Premiere right now. That was a misclick. Okay. So this is artwork by Andrew Doris. He did choose to go with the Tomb Master image. So he went with the Naga, half female, half serpent. And we, of course, already had some feedback. There were a number of things that we already went over, so I don't necessarily need to rehash that. Just where would you go from here? Now, firstly, I think this image is nearly finished, and there's nothing blatantly wrong with this image. If you were to spend more time at this, I think it would be to just spruce it up a little bit, you know, additional things, but we're not going to be going in there and fixing something that is blatantly wrong. This is more like a little more on the suggestion side, so keep that in mind. Okay, one thing that you might think about is this kind of style, being the younger demographic, bright colors, kind of fun, is using a bigger, more distinct pattern on the snake if you're going to be having patterns like that. So right now you have these sorts of patterns, and I like the idea of having some patterns on the snake because it does give some visual interest, but you might make those like 3 times bigger. You know, so you have these nice big patterns. You might not have as many of them, but it would fit the style a bit more to do it that way. Another thing is the doorway arch. And that's on this version. Yeah, this just, if you ever use this image without the text, this doorway arch doesn't really work. So that perspective is going this way, and you got a little bit going that way. So if that door was going straight up and down, it would be running like that with, you know, an arch. meeting somewhere around that curve. Oh, I guess if it was going to be shorter, if that was going to be the top, then somewhere along that. Otherwise, it just seems like an odd shape. Like it's just accidentally lopsided. So if you brought that down, had that coming across, and did an X-ray through, then I would say it either needs to be distinctly angled in and maybe square off the top of it. Probably put a big flagstone right on top. Now, normally, of course, this is all covered up with the text. But even in this sort of situation, for the client, they need to be able to have a completely usable image without the text in case they wanted to use that on a, some other packaging or likewise on the website, whatever. So make sure that that is still accurate. I don't know. This is good. I like the nice deep hallway and probably do it like that. So just check the alignment on there. Overall, I still like the color. It has that very strong, sandy, warm color. And some of the other images use a strong, like warm, cool, red, green sort of color dynamic, which is good for a scene that is dramatic. But this also works. It's an analogous color scheme where it all fits within basically 1/3 of the color wheel. That's fine. Has a very cohesive look to it. So I don't necessarily think we need to expand into a lot of colors. Okay. I would go with pushing some of these coins. You can go straight white with some of these reflections. Now, don't be afraid of white when it's needed. And with these that are tilted right up to the light, that's fine. You can use some straight white on those, and it'll feel like those are really shiny, and just let those pop well. And of course, these are smaller things, but that's where we are. We've already answered a lot of stuff during the work in progress. I did 2 paint overs and feedbacks with Andrew during that, which is why this live stream will probably be a bit shorter, because I've already gone over a lot of stuff during the process on this particular one. Something you could consider just for a little more nuance is coming in here and adding some sand. Like I would consider adding some little sand piles. I'm not saying that's the color it needs to be, but you could have some sand piled up on these steps on each side. And it's kind of, this whole place is just getting little piles of sand caught in different places. Almost like snow, right? And it's just catching on different stuff. You could have little sand piles up on top of things, like up there. You have little sand piles kind of, like the whole place is just getting bits of sand. If you wanted to push it further, you could have like little sand, coming down from the ceiling. Almost like the place is kind of leaky with sand. And this is being a bit delayed response from doing the live stream. So that is something you can think about. Another thing would just be double checking some of these edges and making sure that those are nice and tight. So a few places you might look at it is like that has kind of a bend in it. Like I said, these are nitpicky things, but that's where we're at because you've put so much time into this already. So just make sure, like, double check that that's nice and straight. You might want to add just a little bit more definition, a little more shape, interesting shape to that silhouette. Since you don't have any other detail to go off of, you might do that there. And I would probably come in here, grab like a nice light warm tone and put a small medium tone in between that light and that background and just let it roll over some. You don't necessarily have to have a super hard edge on that. Make it feel like it's a little more rounded. You can kind of flip that on and off and see that Small stuff, but that could help. Another thing is, right here, this is sort of a different tone. This is just like a dull violet, and that's kind of a brown. You might think about making that a little more cohesive. You could use color. Now, you've got these red eyes on this. You could run with red. It could be in your analogous color scheme. Push it just slightly more to the orange side. Yeah. So it could still stand out if you ran it the other way, or I would say probably making this and this stand out because it's a little more colorful. And then that way, the violet tone is a discordant color and would stand out from the all the warmth around it. Okay. Let me hop back over here, and that way I can see the chat. I can't see the chat when I've got the full screen on Photoshop, so let me answer any questions you have here. I agree, Frankie. Superb image. He's doing really good with that. Would you say going deep into the dark for the gold as well? Not a lot. I don't think you necessarily need to challenge how dark the darks and the blacks on her are, but you could bring a little more dark into some of them. Little accent darks into it. And the skulls are a little green, so he could maybe warm those up a bit more. The green just kind of seems odd. Like it's a little too cold for that situation. But on the whole, I would say definitely, Andrew, I hope to see, if you have not already, you ought to put this into your gallery. It's a very professional image. It is something that I could easily see on, a legit game cover in a store. So, yeah. Oh, there was one other small thing. Let me flip back over and mention that. Okay. Oops, that's not what it was. These leather bands, I assume these are leather. They don't look like metal. So on these, I would say they just don't have any visual interest at this point. So coming in here, let's lower that a bit, and adding at least some edge, like it has, oh, I need to move off of color. There we go. Like it has a little lip on the side. A lot of old-timey belts and leather work would do that. So I would say coming around here and put a little lip on it, and then you could put some more leather pattern. And a lot of leather pattern, this image is low res. I have to get a super small brush to try to do this. Is you can see little light pieces kind of crackling through it. And I would clean that up. I would also, I don't know where the image just went. There we go. Yeah, there's a delay. There's a slight delay when I have delay in Photoshop with my brush and my keys when I'm running OBS. So I end up accidentally putting in commands that doesn't help. I would just say maybe coming in here and cleaning up some of this. Like that is a little messy right in here. So if it was going to be printed full size, you might want to come in here and just clean up a couple of these little edges and add some thickness. And those just seem a little rough compared to some of the rest of it. So work on the bands a little bit, and I'll see you good. Okay. Let's go on over to the next one. If there's not any more conversation, let's see. Going deep, right? Yeah, it's just my computer. I probably need to get a newer one pretty soon. Running this in HD and Photoshop at the same time sort of bugs it out a bit. All right. Next up on the list is the Andrew Gibbons. Okay. Oh, that's not what I needed. I gotta say, I really love seeing how, with the same outline essentially, everybody could come up with something so different. They all have their different styles and flavors. Gotta move my monitor, sorry about that. Okay. Now, Andrew Gibbons here has chosen to go with the hero route, and very much on the more cartoony, less realistic, just a lot of fun, definitely kid-oriented, big pops of color, obviously different than previous Andrew, but this is still exactly in the wheelhouse for this kind of game. So overall, I think this works. It's got a really good punch of color. One of the things that I did give Andrew, Mr. Gibbons, feedback on this was he originally had a dark background around her. And I suggested going with a much lighter, brighter background so that she would stand out a lot more, as would they. So we switched it over to that and then played up the red background, green foreground dynamic. So it just has a good tone there. The biggest thing that I would say about this image is that it just needs to be cleaned. Now, it's a slow process to do that, but that would take it to being a very professional, very usable image. The thing that I'm talking about by cleaning it is coming in here and just going edge by edge over the whole thing and making sure like this edge is nice and sharp. Very clean edges to things. Right now they're a little undecided. It's like it's kind of sketched in there, but it's not real like this. There's some of these dark tones into kind of a lighter tone, into kind of a line, and then into the mummy. So what you want to do is make sure that that's nice and tight. Nice, tight, clean edges. And I think that would really help to make this pop. Like I said, this is one of the things that takes a while, but it is also one of the things that really helps to separate professional work from, you know, a lot of the other work out there. Less professional, said that way. So if you want to just come back and clean this all up, and instead of having like glazed over color, pick a nice pure tone of it and run it in pure tone. Keep it very controlled and make colors either one color or another color. Very controlled tones going on. And if there's a line, then make a distinct line. I can't really do it over the whole image, like I said, because it would take a while. So come in here and do that. Also think, you could also be thinking, that was a bad way to say that, but I would say also consider working more angular and don't be afraid to commit to a color or angle or reflective light. So in this case, I think a good example of doing it correctly is up here on the face. Boom, nice green tone, skin tone, green tone. And you can see exactly where that reflected light is, and you can see where it is not. And that works fine for the style. It's okay if that green tone is nice and strong. It goes along with what this is like. So we can have that here. And you can think in terms of planes. All right, so that has one plane. And you don't have to have a perfect blend, right? We're going a little more angular, and that's fine. Okay, I think that would help. That would just be finessing. That would just, a lot of art directors will refer to that as give it another pass. Just go over the whole thing, clean up all the edges, and here in the background too. Like, look how this edge, obviously I can see this edge, but it's just kind of fuzzy. It's kind of like, maybe it just wasn't defined real well. So you can come back here and get your polygonal lasso, run a line down here, and then might come in here and modify the selection, feather it, you know, by 2 pixels maybe. And even if it is fuzzed a little bit, you can still have a very clean fuzz edge. It's completely consistent. It's completely straight. So that would be one of the things to go back and do. Something else you can go back and do is like a lantern like this, a light. Come back and pick out a nice, good shape for that to be in. Not just a blob, but give it a little personality. Yep. Give some... See now, like that lantern shape of the fire from that torch, that's a little more interesting. Get some little bits coming off of it. Yeah. And that's what I would say. Go back, do that sort of stuff. Same thing with like these guys. They're just a little fuzzy right now. And it's okay if you don't have a lot of detail, but have what you have that has nice, clean shapes to it. Okay, this fella, I feel like this kind of needs to be defined a little bit. Like we should see part of his back right there. Maybe the back of his neck, back of his, you know, shirt or something. So check on that. And I'm pretty happy with the rest of it. This is all pretty cool. This, you might do a little more work with that. I know it's supposed to be the serpent thingy coming up, but right now it's not really reading as gold that much. So maybe put a pop of red in it or give it some better highlights so it's really showing up that shape a little more. And that's okay. That would probably help it out there. All right, any questions or comments on that one? If I'm not getting any, then I'll go ahead and move on. Okay, well, I will keep moving then. Next, we have Bjorn. Now, Bjorn did message me and let me know that he will not be able to join because it's like 2 a.m. in the morning for him, and he's got to get up to work early, but we will still have a review of his piece. He'll be able to check it out tomorrow. Okay. How are you guys doing? Is the stream showing up okay? You getting good audio, good visual? If you have any problems, please let me know. I'll try to adjust things. Okay, Bjorn. All right, I don't see anything, so I will keep moving. All right, Bjorn went with, of course, the heroes. I like this. Every one of these has a very distinct body type, pose, and personality. So he also has a very simple scheme in that it's just that single light in the middle, and that is the only light source in the scene. It sort of goes against the whole colorful and vibrant kids, you know, game cover, but it also sort of works because it gives that entering a dark dungeon sort of feel. So we will we'll accept it on that because it does look like a lot of fun. But let's talk about some ideas. Let's talk about a couple of little things that I have a problem with, and then some other things that he could consider doing. Okay, got a new layer, got this. Let me pick out a tone here. Pull in. One of the things that bothers me a little bit is her pose. Like if her other elbow is here, I'm not sure how we get that arm going straight up and down. I almost think like we should see that arm go back and come up at more like that angle. It just seems odd. Like maybe even if, yeah, if that shoulder is going across with the shoulder here and the other shoulder there, yeah, we can't get that angle. So I would say check that in the mirror. Even though you are changing the style, it's very stylized, that arm still doesn't look like it's going at the right angle if you can see her back like that. So double check that if you would. And also need to leave room for her neck, and we probably need to adjust her abdomen. So if her neck is coming down a little bit and then we get to her chest, we probably need to move her chest and waist down a bit like that. We just don't have enough room between like her breast, and it's basically like her neck is sitting directly on top of her chest. So we will need to fix that. I would also suggest doing a little more with the staff to show that it's magic somehow, like put some glow in it, put some little effects coming off of it, something small, or just make the top of it light up so it's glowing, and something simple like that would help a lot. Otherwise, something you could consider is boosting the light in some of this. Let's go to a levels. I want to think about boosting the amount of light without messing up your whole arrangement of the single flame hand light source. So I would consider boosting the light. I'm using a levels to move the highest highlights up a bit, and put a, I'm sorry, I thought I heard somebody. So I can brighten it up like that. I'll push it even more, and you can see it. Yeah. So on and off, it just brings a bit more value to some of this. And it's okay if they're catching some light. And it'll still have that really dark feel. There'll be a lot of black in the scene. You're letting all the corners go to black. But what is visible, it's okay if you go ahead and give it a bit of light. So make sure it is visible. If you don't want to go that way, then another thing you could consider is adding in some other light. Now, some of the other ones have done this, and we could look at those as how they do them. But you could use a opposite color, like a blue, some sort of cool color in the background to offset that if you didn't want to go to black. So essentially warm foreground and cool background. And it would give more splash of color to it. So that is an option. And you could leave the corners up here, but basically they're coming from somewhere that has color, and you don't necessarily have to even explain that color that much, but just there is maybe a doorway coming in, and there is light back there. Now you could also play with that, running different colors if you wanted to. But that would bring in some more colors, and you could use it to contrast against what you do have. Okay. What magic on stuff? Yeah, I would say double check her pose. He looks pretty good to me. I like him. He's got a fun expression. The barbarian, very big, bulky. That's cool. For this sort of thing, just kind of playing up the fun of it. I'd say maybe come in here and add a little, bits off of his axe. Like he's used this thing a bunch, so he's got little dings in that. And you could add some more texture to these other things, like little dings in his gauntlets. That would work. Maybe a little design on the vest. And that gun, like, I guess the handle is coming up there. Okay, because he's holding it the other way. On the mummies, I would like to see maybe a bit more light on some of these guys. So you could use the warm tone And go ahead and hit up some of the edges on these guys so they're nice and warm. You just need 2 or 3 of them that have enough detail that you can make out. So you can immediately tell when you look at it what they're facing up against. And then you can let the back side of them drift off into darkness. Yep. Stream's good, rendering image. Okay, I'm looking at your comments now. Oh, I like this. So only thing I noticed, would there not be more highlights like the way the shotgun face has on the barbarian character? Would there not be more highlights like the way the shotgun character's face has on the barbarian? Oh, okay, how bright the bright highlights are. Yeah, you could add brighter highlights to it. I think it's okay the way that it is. This is not a very realistic image. It is very stylized. But yeah, he could pop up some brighter highlights on that. It's almost 3 a.m. in Germany. Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for staying up. But you know you can watch this when it's saved. It will have the link just still saved there on Patreon. So you can come back at any time and it'll link over to this video on YouTube. YouTube will save it and post it. It will be unlisted. You will not be able to just go to my channel regularly and watch this video. You will have to follow it through the link that is listed there on Patreon. Okay. Isabella, yeah. Hey. Sophi. Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining. Okay, anything else I was going to go over on this one? Let me take a look before I forget. No, I think that was basically it. Okay. Let me close that down, and I will go ahead and grab the next... Oh, sorry about that. I accidentally drug my camera, and my computer does not want to switch to OBS. Oops, sorry. Mouse misclick. Okay, next one up is Daniel Ray's. And yeah, Bjorn, I was going to also mention this piece. Man, this is so much better example of your skill than the Alice in Neon. I think you just felt probably over your head more on the last one. But this one, you really stepped it up, and I am proud of what you have done on this one. It's obvious that you put in a lot of effort, and I think it shows. And I'm really looking forward to what you're going to come up with the next challenge. Of course, won't be until the December release on that one, but this one is very promising, and I think you should be proud of it. It's a good piece. It's a lot of fun. All right, let me open Daniel's piece. And get that situated. $5:40 p.m. Oh, Isabella, you're in Canada. I didn't realize that. I am... good to have somebody, you know, within the same similar time zone. Chloe from the future. Wow. Yeah. We got time travelers here. 6:50 in Montana. Montana. Awesome. Never been out to Montana. Okay, let's take a look at Daniel's. Pull that out of the way and Photoshop. Cool. Cool. Daniel's, this is one that I kind of talked about earlier in that it has a very good warm-cool dynamic. I think that is one of the strongest things going on in this image. It gives it a really good pop and immediate bright colors. And he uses colors more than he uses value, in that instead of just trying to make them show up because it's darker, he's making them show up with color and value, which is really awesome. And it keeps that really fun, colorful feel to it. Overall, I think this is a very successful image, and it has a sort of shelf impression that you would want if you're just going through a game store and saw something that had a cover like this. It would really help make it pop. Also, he's got a really good combination of subject matter that immediately gives you the right impression about what this project is, what this game entails. You got your adventurers, it's got the fun color, you immediately know the kind of age range, what sort of game this is going to be. You know it's about treasure, you know it's about a variety of heroes that you can play, you know it's about these enemies, and there's probably magic and runes and all kinds of fun stuff because all this glowy bits. Okay, now that said, those are all great things. And oh, another thing is the posing is good. She has this really nice, you know, strong, confident, chest out sort of pose. And he has a rush pose to him, massive body. And then you have the thin, crouching body. And that is one of the things I asked for. I think it was very successful in this image. So kudos on that. If you could go back and do some more work on it, what would you do? A similar thing, what I would say on the other ones, which is edge cleanup. That is generally one of the last things that you would do on an image. And I think it was something that would do good here. One of them would be going back here and giving a nice crisp edge like to this thing. It seems a little fuzzy, all of this. It's okay if it's a little fuzzy, but keep it straight and fuzzy. And it looks just kind of wobbly. Some of the edges are just a little wobbly. And down here, like it feels like it has kind of a dark line, and then it gets a little wobbly. So, and like this, it feels like these are almost different segments rather than just fabric that is sort of layered. You don't necessarily need to stress the dark line in between them. So I'd say probably cut down on that, and then you can have it more cohesive. That's a small line. There's very little depth to each layer of that fabric. Okay, more fiddly things that you could consider. I would say changing the direction of this. Nope, that's not what I meant. Okay. The hair on this one, in order to help give the feeling that he is rushing forwards, make it going the other way. So right now it's running forwards, which is counter to his direction of movement. You have the hair flowing back. You have the hair on this one flowing back. Basically, you could probably get that and copy and paste it and just make it go the other direction. And it would help give that little sense of motion there. That is not what I meant to deselect. Okay, what else could you do? Okay, the fire, this is a little thing. That fire looks like it's got cut off on the edge of that. So I would just make sure that that's overlapping. It doesn't make it look like it's cut off on that. Again, a little thing. On her face, whoa, that's much too much. On her face, let's play down her nose a bit. It's very pointy, very sharp. That's okay for her to pointy nose, but let's not play that up quite as much, especially when you're looking up at the nostrils. So let's play that down some. You can be a little subtler at the end of the nose. You can have basically just a shadow down here with the nostrils don't have to be real dark. I'll just be a little more subtle with that, not try to outline the nose. Yeah, you might give. Yeah, I have to quadruple click in order to get it to switch things there. So let's probably soften that up a little bit. Okay, what else? Leads nose. General cleanup. This guy, I don't know that we really need him back there. He's like right in the center under her legs. And I know that he is in the background, but I don't know, just having a character standing right under the lady's legs, it's kind of odd. So we either really need to drop him into the background, so we have a lot more of that, or I don't think you really lose much if you just get rid of that fella. Or offset him to the another side more so that he's, you know, half of his head's being overlapped. Yeah, small thing, but I would say go with that. I would suggest working with the forms here, though. The contour created by this is flattening her chest. So you're trying to give this really confident, rounded chest feel. But right now, because this is straight, you've just flattened the entire chest out, so it doesn't feel like it's rounded anymore. What we want to do instead is get that to come up here and then round back down. Have that peaking right there at the chest where she has it thrust out more. Now that one you won't be able to tell as much because it's basically straight on the angle with us. But if you're having it underlit, then let's underlit the angle of the breasts. I think we can shadow the top of it. And I would pull the breast up a little bit. Because of the angle, they're going to look like they're setting higher because we're looking up at her so much. And if you want to catch a little bit of that rib cage there, you could. Now we can kind of turn that on and off and see how that makes it feel like her chest is stuck out more. She has more form to it. Yeah, small thing. That's something I've done before. That's why I pay a little more attention to it. Okay. Let me flip over and check to see if you guys have any questions and comments on that before I move. Has anyone watched the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth cinematic trailer? Can't say that I have. Yep, looked fantastic. I wish I had time to play the WoW though. I may have to check that out. Being an adult sucks. Sometimes. Being an adult is more complicated, but it has its perks. You know, the good thing about being an adult is if we're really good at what we do, we get to make those really awesome things like, you know, World of Warcraft cinematics. So if we really practice, then we get to create that stuff. We get to be the ones that make the things that we loved watching when we were kids. So I think that's fantastic. Like growing up and seeing Magic cards and then being able to make those when you get to be an adult, that's awesome. Or watching your favorite science fiction. You know, okay, you got the guys that went and saw Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy when they were kids, when it came out in theaters. And now they're grown up and they get to now do the concept art and the prop design and build the sets for the new Star Wars films. And I think that is one of the best things about working in this industry is that we can go on to essentially carry on the legacy of the thing that got us into what we love in the first place. So I like Harry Potter. You know, I loved Harry Potter. There's millions of people that loved Harry Potter, reading the books, watching the movies. We know they want to keep making more movies. So practice your concept art and get on the team that is creating the work for the new Scamander movies. They're going to make a couple more of them. So how awesome is that? It's such a great opportunity we have, and something to really look forward to. And honestly, some of you guys got the skill. Maybe not today, but you are putting in the time, and the of your stuff is sweet. So you can get to that. Had a question. Yes, with the edges of the heroes against the glowing doorway, do you think I should make them more solid and clean, or leave them sort of soft like they are? Let me pull that back up and double check to make sure I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, your name on here is SOP F1. What is your actual name? Let's see. Daniel. Okay, Daniel. All right. On your piece. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Edges of the heroes against the glowing doorway. Do you think I should make them more solid and clean, or leave them sort of soft like they are? I think for this style, sharper is probably better. We're not really going for soft artistic edges, and we're not using edges in a real artistic way. So generally on this style, probably cleaner is better, unless it's something that is distinctly innately soft, like a puff of smoke or atmospherics. If you do want to have softer edges, that's fine, okay? And it would actually give a nice visual quality, but it needs to be something that is carried out. You might add a bit more atmospheric to the background so that everything in the background is out of focus a little bit. And that way it doesn't seem like you just accidentally got it soft, that it is a consistent visual element of the scene. So that's how I'd approach it. Yeah. Okay. The last of the top tier images we need to look at is Thomas's. So let me close out of this one. Thomas, down here. Oh yeah, no, don't worry about the name thing. I do have people, they have a different name, like their actual name is different than their Patreon name, and their Patreon name is different than their YouTube name. And I try to keep it straight, but there's just too many people with too many different names, so occasionally I do have to ask just to make sure. Okay, I assume Thomas is still here. So we're up to your image. Of course, if you have any questions, please let me know. And we will jump over and start taking a look at this one. Okay. Make a new layer. What size is this image at? Okay, I'm gonna scale this up a bit. I didn't bring the highest definition in here. I left those are on my other folder. So, okay, Thomas. First thing is, nice. Good work, man. Solid. You keep doing really solid pieces. And I love seeing it. I love seeing the amount of time and attention that you put into it. It's got some really good bits to it. So, I would say on the whole, good piece. Tweaks. That's where we are now. Just what might we do to give it some more tweaks? Okay, I've got some notes over here. Okay, one of the things that gets me is this dog. Now, I don't have any problem with the dog being in here. Now, I'm going to guess that the dog is with this fella. He seems like the kind of guy that would have a hunting dog with him. So, I'm just guessing. And these two don't seem like the one that would have a dog or dog collar on the dog. So, I would... Right now, we've got these two characters, this witch doctor and this dog exactly centered. And generally you want to offset things a little bit. So my suggestion, and it wouldn't be a big thing to do, is move the dog over a little bit. Put the dog's head over here. Even just that much would break up the complete symmetry. And it would also give the idea that these two are connected more. He's standing closer to the guy that is who he's with. So that's a small thing. Let's do that. And next. Okay, this I find odd. This sand pattern. Now, I know sand has a tendency to make wave patterns in it. But I think in this case, you probably just need to be a little more artistic about it. Take some license. It almost has, when I first glance at it, it's the sort of appearance that I would expect to see if somebody was doing like a sonic vibration or you're showing something shaking. And that's the sort of feel. Now, it is also compounded by the fact that we've got all of these straight lines leading into this thing like this, and then there's curves off of it. And there's just a moment in the back of my mind that it tries to correlate the two of those together. And that's just a small thing that if you can avoid the confusion, if you can avoid and just make that a little more clear, then let's just avoid it. So I would do that by taking out the ribbed, waved pattern to it and create some simpler, bigger ones. This is good. I like this coming down here. I like having it up against this pillar, and the sand being there is good. Maybe adding a different one coming up here to meet it. And then you could have this kind of coming down in big wave patterns instead of lots of little ones. That's how I'd probably handle that. Next. Can't even read my own handwriting. Okay, this is sort of a tangent up here that catches me off a little bit. Got this dude here, and then this crack essentially goes right around his head. And obviously the two of those are on a completely different plane, and we need to make sure that they're not just following each other. That's exactly the sort of thing that happens when you're staring at an image for a long time and you just don't notice it. So I always come back to my images later and notice little tangents like that I missed. Like similar here, this guy's, the end on this, like completely copies the shape of this dog's head on the top. Little tangent like that. So I'll go around, make sure you're not running it in to more of those. All you need to do is change up the angle of this so that like, this is coming up here, you know, just so it's not exactly following the same all the way around. Okay, small stuff. Okay, magic hand fire. Okay, the magic hand fire. Now, I like the idea of this guy having magic. He is a witch doctor. He's bringing a magical element to the party. But this, I don't know, does it feel like this light is initially coming off of his hand? When I first glance at it, it feels like the fire is behind him, and like there's a torch on the wall behind him, and his fist happens to be in front of it. I don't get the impression that it's coming off of his hand itself. So, a couple of different ways you can handle this. One is I'd keep the fire, but you might want to change the color of it so that it's not the exact same fire color as these. And as everybody knows, magic fire can be any color.
So if you want to go with a different color, that's fine. And it would help separate it. Another way is you could run it where the hand is actually becoming silhouetted, or you're losing the detail on that, and this is going like white hot, right? This is very bright around here. And it's distinct about what part is within the flame and what part is not. So you might want to bring that down a little bit so it's more localized. And that way it doesn't have the same feel as these other ones. Another thing to really help sell this light effect, that it makes it look like it's coming off of his hand, is how it affects the things around it. And right now, it doesn't feel like it's necessarily a consistent light source because of the color. So let's make a layer here and set that to overlay. And I'm going to grab some warm orange. Then everything that this thing is lighting needs to have the color that is. Now, it's a nice warm orange right now. I'll say that we kept it at that. You could change it, of course, if you wanted to. But, like, that same warm, you had a white light on everything around it, a completely balanced white light. But the light source itself was shown to be very orange, which made it not be consistent. So let's use that nice orange tone on all this part that is lighting it. I'll let that pop out just fine. It's okay if those are nice and warm. And it will make it feel like it is a proper light source because it is affecting all that. This is a situation where I would suggest going with more silhouette. We can simplify his form into more silhouette and make that light source seem a little more prominent because it's letting the rest of this go into shadow. Makes him also a bit of a darker character. And I sort of like the feel of that, like him being kind of dark that way. Pop some of those nice orange highlights. That arm still bothers me a little bit. Yeah, just the way that angle is, it still seems a little odd. Okay, let's talk about body types a little bit. I say this guy is sort of setting in between body types, and let's push it one way or the other. I would say he needs to be either a witch doctor who is unusually strong. Like, this is a warrior witch doctor. And he has got, you know, he has got the guns. He is a bulky, impressive fella. And we can just really thicken his neck up and make sure his biceps are big. He's got these impressive lats. And guy's just he's the Gaston of witch doctors, which you don't really see much. Usually they're really frail. So you can do it that way, really make this guy bigger, distinctly different body type than the other ones. Or I'd say you really need to make him thin down, right? Make this guy more gaunt. He's not got that much muscle. Thin him down a bit. So it's obvious that magic is the only thing this guy's relying on. He's got little weak arms, but his magic is strong. And that gives him a different feeling. You know, he is a little malnourished, and he doesn't have a lot of muscle tone. He's got ribs. You can really see the ribs on this guy. So I'd say push it right one way or the other. I don't really care which one, but it would probably help. Okay, I like the feeling of this older gentleman. This guy is fun. He's got his spectacles, he's got his guns, he's got his hunting dog, he's got his long rifle. This is good. Now, this is where you could just push a bit further with the characters. Like, this guy's got this awesome beard. So you might flare these out a bit more. Might make his hair a bit more puffy. You know, this guy's really got it going on. So remember, we're making exaggerated characters for this sort of game. Where the guy doesn't have a little hair, he has the world's best mutton chops. And like you gave him a little weight. Okay, a little weight. Fine, give him a real gut, you know? That's okay. That's who this fella is. He lives well. He is a well-to-do, older hunting dude. And it doesn't matter to him that he's carrying a little extra weight. No, he is still good at what he does. He could even, I don't know, do guys wear those riding pants that get like wide on the outside? Yeah. I would say that he probably doesn't have a super tight shirt on, so we're going to give a little extra shirt to hang down right there. Yeah. Small stuff. That's where we're at this stage, is small stuff. Things that I did like I've not mentioned before. This gold, the gold in the cracks, love it. Good idea. The gold on the hieroglyphics back here, I don't even know where you came up with these hieroglyphics. They look great, and they have a really nice visual touch. That's good. Good forms back on here. I like your fire. You didn't overwork the fire. And this is a good way to handle the ceiling. It's nice and rough. You know, you don't need a bunch of these guys down here. You might do a little bit more to this guy back here. I like him charging in, but these guys are almost completely lost. So what you could do is get a nice cool tone and just give a little edge light to pull out some of the shapes. They've just got a little cool light on this back side so that you can help pull out their forms and know what's going on with these fellows. And that's about all you would need. You don't want them to get lost in the shadow. So right around there, like that. All right, let me check about questions and comments. Pull OBS back up. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right, Thomas, anything you want to toss in there? Anything I did not cover that you want me to see? Or this goes to everybody. If I have not gone over and not touched on something that you want me to touch on, or if you need a clarification about something that I have said, then I do want to leave a little time here so that you can toss it in there and make sure that we get this addressed. This one is a little more short than the last one, but like I said, that's because we're able to address a lot of stuff along the way. Okay, well, I will leave it at that, and I will come back and answer your question on that, Thomas, if you come up with some and type it in. Otherwise, I think you should be very proud of this image. This is a very professional image, and I think that you are really getting a good, I would say that you seem to have a good working, oh yeah, small thing, I was saying small thing, one other thing. Let me switch over. I keep doing that. I keep thinking I'm finished, and I remember one other thing I'm meant to cover. So, on this, I would say we can push the lady's pose more. Right now, she seems very static. Boom. I want to see, like, this guy's static, very small movement. You get the idea that he's probably, like, you know, filling his gun. This guy's, he picked his arm up, but there's not a lot of motion going on. I feel like she could have some motion. So, it's like turning her body so that it looks like she's moving into the swing, right? She's stepping into this. And that would mean probably reversing her lower body so that she is turning into it. Right now, she's turning away from it. And you could even change it where her arms are pulled back further. But consider doing that and putting more like lean into her body. Like she's in the middle of a step. Or at least change it so that her body is turning away. And her upper body is turning to us. And she's stepping that way, and the other leg is going back there. So she's turning around to put more weight into it. Okay, that is something that you would want to probably look at some poses, see if you want to do it. And then the hair shape seems kind of odd. It just goes out and sort of flat. Maybe do put something in her hair, some sort of design, do some eye makeup or something. These guys seem like they have a lot more character. And she doesn't. She's got some almost Asian-style armor, and that's fine. But maybe we continue that with like half of a mask. That could be cool. Like she's just got the lower half of a mask that has like fangs or something on it, and like the samurai mask had different pieces, and so that they could leave part of it on or part of it off. Maybe she just has that, or maybe she just has something over her eyes. Or you could also consider putting a greave thing on her arm. Or give her tattoos. I would say that we could push her character up a little bit. She seems a little subdued compared to the other one. So a little more flavor to her. Okay, that's what I was going to add on that. Okay, that is the top 5. Now we need to take a look at the winner of the challenge tier, and I will just have some quick feedback on the other ones. All right, the winner for this challenge, let me close this out. Pull this over. The winner of this challenge is Isabella. Isabella, really good work here. You should be proud of this piece. A lot of fun, good characters, and I really like the glowing runes that have the sort of cool light with the warm light of the tomb. So congrats on winning. We will go through this and talk about some different ideas like I have on the other ones. And if you have comments, then please drop them down there and I will take a look at them. I will pause here just at the beginning to check to see if you have any comments before we get started. Yeah, so Isabella, I'm glad you joined. You came up with a fun piece. I like these characters. I like the color scheme. What I want to do is just push it a bit further. I don't think anything necessarily needs to be redrawn. That's not where we're at. I think we just need to hone in on some of the ideas that you already have going. Okay, well, I don't see any questions at the moment, but feel free to put them in there. I'll take a look at it after I go over some points. Excellent. Okay, so a couple of things. You have a good, like, cyan, sandy, red color thing going on, but the colors seem sort of muted. So I'm going to try to do this simply. I'm going to use the vibrance and kick up the color some, just so it's not quite as muted. Okay, push it up a little bit. And, nope, that's not what I meant to do. Turn that off. There. I'll make a new layer and set it to linear dodge, move the opacity down. I'll check it at about 35 right now. And what I want to do is also, oh, you know what? It'll make more sense if I do it this way. Let's check the color. Okay, right now you see it doesn't have a clear value scheme. And that's something I want to look at. It has a good color dynamic, but it doesn't have a good value scheme. The background and foreground have a lot of the same tones. There's not a distinct planes of the image. So I would establish that a little bit more. So that's what I'm going in here to do. And we want to establish that without losing color. We want to try to even do it by adding some color in. So hopefully I can do that with a linear dodge layer, and I'm going to get a nice warm orange tone. We can adjust the color a little bit later if we need to. But I'm going to use a soft brush and paint in some warm. This will be for the area behind the characters. And I want to get some warm light that is essentially coming down this stairway and brightening that up. See all that wonderful color? Love it. And we get this great gradient from the cool here, and it'll come down to this white, the light bright tones there. And let's also toss it there. Now I'm gonna make a mask on that, switch my brush to black, and do a very rough mask out of these characters. So I want them basically to be unaffected by that light. So they are much cooler in tone than that warm light. And it also allows their values to stay darker while the rest of them are muted down, but you don't want to just mute them down without also making sure they still have plenty of color. So we've got that going on. I guess that's just the wind. There's a front coming in, and the wind is getting fairly strong. Okay, so we've got this. Let's cut that out a little bit and cut out these guys in the foreground. Cut out that guy and this guy. These are all on the same plane. All right. So flipping this on and off, you can kind of see the difference there. It allows there to be a more plain, that there's a background, foreground, midground. They are separated from the background a bit more by both value and color. So that feels good. And another thing I want to do is play up the sizes. She is obviously very small. That's fine. He is taller, slender. But this guy, let's bulk him up a bit more. Now, this isn't going to look real great with me doing it quickly. A lot of the edges aren't going to show up well. But let's make this guy definitely seem bulkier. Yeah. Like I said, these edges aren't going to clean up real quickly, but do a fast job with it. Okay, and I'll get that out too. There we go. So now we got him a little bit bigger, and we could even I would say this guy almost needs shoulder pieces. I feel like he could probably use shoulder pieces, make him feel like he's super armored up, right? They can have a little piece coming down here. Make it feel like he's just pretty massive. And his legs could be thick, you know. Okay. A little bigger. And this leg could be back behind that shield some more. It doesn't necessarily need to be completely visible to us. We can move that over. That'd be okay. Has his legs spread nice and wide. Okay. We can do it that way. And something else we could do, I would play up this cool light. Up here, we could add some more atmospherics. We either need to I'd say simplify that guy into the dark, and then get this nice cool tone. Put some atmosphere around this, brighten that up some. Wow, it's really hard to draw when it won't switch back to your brush. Okay, see these big value and color changes? Yeah, that's what we're looking for there. And I would even go in and play up the light difference on the tops of these guys. It's a little more green than I need. There we go. There we go. Now you're already doing that quite a bit here, but it's okay to even push that a bit further. So everything facing up at that ceiling is going to be picking up that wonderful blue light. I would like to see maybe something a little more happening with this other hand. Maybe she's got it back here, or she's got both hands up summoning this thing. That's fine too. Or she's got a hand back here just holding onto a talisman or something. Because right now it looks like we're just getting that one hand, and maybe that's a sleeve. But it would be good if that was also doing some work for us. And getting that nice blue light on top of this guy. Yeah. Small stuff. Okay. And we could play up, right now he's got this confident, sword out kind of, you know, almost a little swagger to it. And we could do that even more. There we go. Moving his head over this way. If he has his head turned, if you turn your head, it's going to that far. It's almost going to be right on top of your shoulder. So right now it's still very centered. And if we move that over, it feels like he's looking that way. And it also makes it look like his chest is being pushed out further. There we go. We can still have his hair coming back there. That's fine. So kind of moving that over. Now it looks like he's looking that direction a bit more. I feel like you might be able to make that blade a little bigger. Yeah. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's say play down the light like this, right? Okay, this is almost going to be flat. It's okay to keep this guy flatter in tone. He's all going to be in shadow. We can flatten this down. We don't need to see much detail on that fella. So he can flatten down a bit. That's okay. Okay. That's some of the thoughts on that. I like the guys back here. We could get some more aggressive stances from these guys. I like the numbers of them. I like where they're placed. I like that you don't have a lot of detail on them. That's okay. But let's get some hands that are reaching up. You know, you can see some fingers sticking up. He's reaching out. Or, you know, get me some hands sticking up that have weapons. They got some old broken swords or spears or something. Or change it up with some of these and give them, you know, Egyptian mantles. So one of them back here has like a gold thing that goes around his neck, right? So he's got this sort of thing with little designs on it. Just so that you can tell that there's variation. And maybe he also has some sort of little headdress on too. So this guy is like maybe a higher order enemy than the other guys. So it's coming down here. Yeah, just show a little variation. Could be interesting. And okay, let me check, see if you have any comments. Satara, really like the image. The character in the middle reminds me of Raphael from Soul Calibur. I remember the name Soul Calibur. I do not know the games that much. But they're fun characters. I like the size differences. I like it looks like they're having fun, which is good. Okay. Can you give us a hint what the next challenge is? I think the next challenge will probably be based on the ebook. So the ebook is going to be about creating different tones and moods in your image. So the idea I'm working with right now is that it will probably be the same scene, but you're going to have to paint it in multiple different moods. Like you can choose from a list of probably 10 different moods, and you'll need to do 3 or 4 of them. So do a version of it where it is positive and energetic and happy, or do one that has, it's more horror, it's uneasy feeling. Do one that makes it look magical. And you will be able to read the ebook, look at the examples, take some insights from that, and then apply it to the challenge. I don't know what the subject matter is, only it's probably going to be based around that particular idea. Yep, that's the idea on that. Some other things, and feel free to continue dropping in some questions. I do want to cover this before we wrap up. We'll need to wrap up pretty soon. I liked the way that this challenge went compared to the previous ones, in that you guys sent in a sketch. I was able to give you a paint over or just a red line or feedback and give you input during that process. Some of you also put up a work in progress between the sketch and the final, and I was able to give you some feedback on that. And that gave us, I think, a lot better overall results. And going forwards, I think I would like to do that. And if that's the case, I am probably going to restructure it, because honestly, at the $20, I'm losing money with my time giving that much feedback. Between you getting the video and the files and the challenge and getting paint overs and getting feedback, it's worth more than $20 of my time. So what I'll probably end up doing is restructuring it so that it's more slots for the top tier that gets feedback, and you will get to do, it'll be like this where you'll get to do multiple feedbacks during the process. And so the end live stream will be a bit shorter, and it will be just a general feedback over the process and not like a really in-depth, because there'll be more people. Then those at the $20 tier will likely go down to, say, $15, but they won't get any feedback. They will just get to join the challenge, and they will get to join in the live stream, but I'm not going to give them work in progress feedback. Anyway, I'll give you more details on that if and when I go with it. That is one of the things I'm going to be looking at. Since I'm obviously taking off this month to put more time into the ebook, I'm going to take more time into doing, looking at how I want to handle that. Do I know of any good art conventions for people looking for jobs? Not offhand. I honestly have not been to that many art conventions. You're talking about if you wanted to get a table somewhere, and no, offhand, I wish I could. I obviously need to talk to some of my colleagues and ask them about good art events to go to, because I just don't go to that many. So what did you guys think about the way that it went this month? Because personally, I liked it. Did you get more out of it? Did you feel like that helped you more? Because if so, then I will probably adjust the direction of how that part of Patreon is going. Okay. Oh, I was also going to go over just quickly some of the other images. We won't do a full review, but a couple of comments. Ben, on your piece, if my computer will deign to open it. Really solid piece, Ben. Good job on this. Small things, these guys' heads butting into the top. Let's just adjust that, maybe make them just a little smaller. Otherwise, very professional image. It's got a lot of punch to it. The characters seem good. And I look forward to seeing more from you. This is a good piece. I'm glad you got the feedback on this. I think her pose works better this way than what it was. So solid. Hope you'll get it up there. Get some exposure on this one. Share it around. Make sure you're getting people to actually see this stuff you guys are putting out. It's good work. Diep, if I'm saying that name correctly. You took in a lot of what I said. We adjusted, added some of that stuff in the background. Thank you for listening to that. My main thing is look at the lighting. Right now, this is a flat lighting. We're not getting a lot of color change. We're not getting a lot of value change. Look at the way that some of these other guys have handled the lighting to make it really dramatic. Work in planes of the image. Give some big value change and color change per plane. Also consider adding a backlight in order to give more color and bring out the shapes of those characters. Sarah, I liked your line drawing. I liked your original sketch. I think we both agree that the problem here is you just didn't have enough time to work on it. So looking forward to seeing you being able to put more time into the piece. I was looking forward to seeing the croc dude, and I thought he would be a really fun character. Looking over his shoulder was a nice idea. If you want to go back and keep working on this, I'd love to see that. So, I hope you will get the time, find the time to do that. You've got a good line drawing, you've got a good idea underneath it. Keep working on it. And another thing to use the other challengers that did not win. Obviously, Isabella won. Sarah, Diep, Ben. Guys, you are honestly in the top. You're in the top because think about this. Let me switch over here to webcam. A little more face. Something to keep in mind here is there are over 20 people in the challenge tier. 3 of you sent in finals. 3 of 20. And this goes for the rest of you guys in the challenge tier. It's not always about sending in the best image you've ever done. It doesn't even have to necessarily be about something you're super proud of. That's not why you're here. You're here to work. You're here to learn. You're here to keep moving the needle, even a little bit. Sarah sent in a final. She said, hey, life got busy. I didn't get to put as much time into this. I'm not real happy with it. But you know what? Sarah, way to go. You tried. You sent in a sketch. You communicated with me. You sent in a final. And you're still subscribed. And you're making an effort. You're still moving the needle on your goal. Congratulations. Over, 80% of the people in the challenge tier won't even do that. And that is why you're going to succeed. It's because you are trying. You're taking a step, even if it's not the biggest step. And I am proud of you. I am proud of each one of you in the challenge. And I'm proud of each one of you in the contender, that top tier, who are getting this feedback, who are getting, off your butts. Well, I'd say off your butts. You're probably sitting in a chair drawing. But you're making time to make this happen. And it's like I said in my other video. every time that you choose to go out there and make an effort, you're leaving somebody else behind. You're weeding somebody out. Because right now, 17 people out of the 20 didn't do it. And that's why you're going to make it. It's because you are at least doing something. And I love it. I love seeing people who are busy, who have complicated lives, still make the effort. And it just means that much more. And again, this is dojo training. My brother has a phrase that he learned from Sun Tzu, and I always think of him when I think about it, and I love the phrase. And it says, laugh in the dojo. And it says, cry in the dojo, laugh on the battlefield. Cry in the dojo, laugh on the battlefield. You work your butt off, and you have your blood, sweat, and tears in your training. And then when you get out there, when it really counts, when the metal, clashes on the battlefield, when you got the real commissions, when money's on the line, when your reputation's on the line, it's no sweat. You can laugh it off because, man, you put in the time. You know how to get stuff done. And keep that in mind. And don't be afraid to send in sketches, even if they're not great. To all of you other guys that are going to go out here and watch this video that did not complete this challenge, that didn't even send in a sketch, dude, I'm here for you. That's why I'm working with you. You do a sketch, you're not happy with it. That's fine. That's why I'm here. I want to help you. Send it in and tell me that you're not happy with it. And then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about where to go from there. We'll talk about how to make you happy with it. So, this is not real work. This is practice. This is where you get through all of the struggles so that you don't have to do it later when there's a real commission on the line. Just keep that stuff in mind, and don't feel bad if it's not the best piece ever. Every piece I do isn't the best piece I've ever done. And you struggle sometimes. And there's sometimes that I don't feel like I'm making much progress, but you know what? You still got to just get up and do it. And just stick with it. I'm proud of you for everyone that commits to this and makes an effort. And yeah, that's all I want to say on that. Chloe. Oh, yeah, I remember your piece, Chloe. Yeah, geez, what a great sketch you sent in. Honestly, I loved it. Such a good style, such good colors. You better tell me that you're going to finish that and send me the link to the final. I want to see that thing finished. I want to share that. And I am also going to be sharing these on my Facebook. And I'm proud of this stuff. I'm proud of what you guys are doing. I want people to see what can come of, getting some good feedback, making an effort, and sticking to it. A lot of people get into the position where they are focusing on just doing little studies. And these aren't little studies. This is a legit, full commission, complicated image. And you pulled it off well. And there is a real, a little pride that you get from pulling off a big piece. So I want to share that around. I also want to start doing videos, little slideshow videos, share it with the people on YouTube, and let it be an inspiration to them too. What I'll likely do is just get the finals of the 6 images that we have covered in this, and put a little background music to it, put your name, put a link to your gallery, and just tell them this was the brief of what everybody was working off of. And, hopefully, somebody will go out there and be able to watch the video. Maybe they'll contact you if they like your stuff. Are you still taking submissions for the ebook? Yes, I am. I would love, send me all the submissions. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to use them, but I'll have to see what fits in which category. I'd love to see more submissions for that. Satara, one of those who did not send one in. All right, I'll send in one next time, but since I've only been drawing approximately 8 months, it will be bad. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the quality. Don't compare it to what other people are doing. Everybody has come into this. Everybody has been practicing this for a different period of time. Everybody is learning from different sources. Everybody has a different style. So what you need to judge against is you against you. If you are making any amount of progress, if you can honestly look back and say, I'm doing better work than I did a year ago, then, well, if you're doing 8 months, if I'm doing better work than when I started, then, hey, that's all that matters. We're just here for progress. Okay, you got to get the bad drawings out to get good. That's absolutely right. You got to get all the bad ones out. And I'll tell you this, you'll always do some bad drawings, okay? They just get fewer. You know, so maybe you start with and you do 9 out of 10 drawings you feel are just bad. And then you do one good one, you're like, finally, that's what I want. Finally, I got one. And that gives you the inspiration to keep going. And then a bit later, you do 2 out of 10 are better. And then 3 out of 10 are good. Then 4 out of 10, you'll never get 10 out of 10. But at least you're moving up the average goodness. And so even the bad ones aren't quite as bad. And the bad ones don't show up quite as often. That's what we're going for. That's the progress we're looking for. Determination is the most important thing. Yeah, it is. And I understand life gets complicated. There is many projects that I have had to delay and spend my time on other things just because priorities and life changes. But like Chloe, okay, if you got busy, you couldn't finish it. You had that wonderful sketch, but you didn't get it finished. Go back to it. There's nothing stopping you from going back to it. Now would be an excellent time to do it. Obviously, you got a month off because I need to take an extra month on this ebook. And so finish it up. Send me a link. I would be glad to look at it. Maybe I can give you a little feedback on it, during the process. Okay. Anything else? Any other Patreon information I need to go over? If you guys have not already been joining in the YouTube live streams on Monday evenings, then of course feel free to join there. If you do want more challenges, then I do a YouTube live stream challenge. Everybody doesn't give feedback, but if you're just looking for something to do, something, to draw on during the month, because we don't have a big challenge going on, then, and then feel free to join on that. We've been doing random characters, and I will create a character outline. I think tomorrow we will probably be doing something else. I think we'll do an environment piece for next week's environment challenge. But tune in, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. CST here on YouTube. You can follow me on Facebook for any changes that happens around. Isabella asks, Rat, how many slots will open up in the $30 tier? Not sure exactly. I think 10. I'm completely comfortable going up to 10. I would like to do 10 at least for a month to make sure that that's not too much. And then I'll have a better idea if I still have enough time and we can keep going, there's still interest, then I'll probably bump it up a bit more than that. I just have a feeling that most people in the $20 tier would be happy to go down to 15 because they're not making use of everything in the $20 tier as it is. And then a couple of you, like Isabella, who do really want more feedback, would be happy to jump into the higher tier for more feedback. The $30 tier, I'm thinking, might go up to 35 because I would love to be able to give you the option of 1 to 2 feedback. We are getting 2 right now. We're getting a work in progress feedback on the sketch, and you're getting the live stream feedback in the end. then I want to leave the possibility of if I have time and you send in something else, I could give you a little feedback in the middle too. And honestly, I just need to charge a bit more to offset that much time per person. So that's what I'm thinking on that. Okay. Okay, I think that is it for now. And if you have questions, comments, feel free to leave them here on this video, or you can send me a message on, of course, Patreon. I check all of those. And all right, I don't see any more questions. So it looks like we'll go ahead and wrap up. Okay, thank you for everybody for joining tonight, and everybody who has come in to watch this at a later time. Of course, you can check to see on Patreon about the new tiers. I will put a post out there outlining exactly what the new plan will be as soon as I know that. And I am, as of the time of this video recording, I am now going to be working on printing all of the bonus posters and art prints that were the bonuses for the previous month and get those shipped out this month so everybody can get that stuff. So, Chloe, Isabella, Sop F1, everybody else here, Thomas, Frankie, thank you very much for joining. And I will catch you guys later, and I'll keep you up to date. Feel free to stay in touch. If you want some quick feedback on stuff, send me a message. If I have time, I will try to get your feedback on that. And until you see it next time, as always, keep drawing.